when you are free from the conception of gross and subtle bodies, and when your senses are free from all influences of the material modes of material nature, you will realize your pure form in my association. At that time, you will be situated in pure consciousness. So I'll read that again. This chapter is entitled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. So I actually didn't look fore and aft here, but I believe this is Kṛṣṇa speaking to Brahma, if I'm not mistaken. When you are free from the conception of gross and material, from the conception of gross and subtle material bodies, and when your senses are free from all influences of the modes of material nature, you will realize your pure form in my association. At that time, you will be situated in pure consciousness. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that is by Rupa Goswami, it is said that a person whose only desire is to render transcendental loving service unto the Lord is a free person in any condition of material existence. So let me go along step by step in the purport. Otherwise, there are just so many things, and then easily things are left out. So, one who desires to render transcendental loving service is considered a free person in any condition of material existence. So this is sometimes explained in this way. In Gaudiya Vaishnavism, you do not measure any devotee by his particular achievement. You only see about his aspiration. What is his aspiration? Aspiration means desire. What does he hold as his highest desire in life, highest aspiration in life? Then he is to be taken from that angle of vision. Not by his present condition. He may still be conditioned, but his aspiration or desire, as Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here, is whose only desire is to render transcendental loving service. So he only desires to render transcendental loving service. He should be considered a free person. What is free person? That means liberated soul. Free person means liberated soul. He must be considered a liberated soul in any condition. Condition may still be there. He may be in conditional life. Particularly, that relates to varnashram. He may be, or she may be, still in a stage of varnashram and not living the life of a paramahansa. Paramahansa means no connection with anything other than the holy name, Mahaprasad, the scriptures, the deities, and all these things. No work, no earning, no raising children, no concern about education, none of these things. Varnashram. Only concerned with the higher stage of spiritual life. So in any stage of life, condition of life, then if one has the aspiration to only render service to Kṛṣṇa, such a person is to be considered a liberated soul. I don't know where, but it's in Srila Prabhupada's book somewhere. He says that one may not be able to engage in the Sankirtan movement. It just may not be possible. But if one even appreciates the Sankirtan movement, he is a liberated soul. So what is the very essence of Kṛṣṇa consciousness? Is not our ability to even perform any service with this external body, but is the actual quality and desire within, which is a very, very subtle thing. Well intended. If the intention is well placed, even the endeavor may be wrought with defect. Kṛṣṇa will leave aside the defect, and he will accept the well intention within. I don't know if you know this story, but it was Kṛṣṇa came to see Uddhava. He came to Uddhava's house and Dwarka or Mathura, and I believe it was Uddhava. and he wasn't there, and Uddhava's wife was there. And she became so beside herself when Kṛṣṇa came to their home, and she offered him a seat and wanted to offer him something, some fruit. And so she was peeling the bananas and throwing the bananas on the side and giving Kṛṣṇa the peels. And he was eating the peels. So, and then Uddhava came into the home, and, "You foolish woman, what are you doing? Kṛṣṇa has come to our home and you're feeding him peels." But he was relishing the peels, you see, and she had thrown away. So that was wrought with so much defect. The whole offering may have been considered spoiled. But he wasn't concerned with the banana itself, but her mood of offering. Oh, I always remember when the story is told, some hobo came to Prabhupada's room on the Bowery, on the loft or something, and he presented a roll of toilet paper. And Prabhupada accepted that. You see. Thank you very much. So what did he accept? Or some people used to bring things. Some people brought pies, and they brought things that were contaminated. They're obviously contaminated. And the devotees that remember these things don't really remember what happened to those pies. They never saw anybody eating them, but he graciously accepted them, you see. So even that is such an important thing. Whatever a person tries to offer to Kṛṣṇa in the very beginning, we should not chastise their offering, even if it is so filled with imperfection, you see, because that may shock that person, and then they go away from the whole process. So then in time, we will become attentive to what is very pleasing to Kṛṣṇa, and we will do everything accordingly. But then in time, we may again enter some stage of being very much bewildered. Again, back to ignorance. But that ignorance is called divine ignorance. In the beginning, we are in ignorance. Then we become free from ignorance. And then again, we fall into ignorance. That is called divine ignorance, yogamaya. I mean, would you think to chastise your deities with a stick? No. But Mother Yashoda chastising Kṛṣṇa with a stick. But she cannot do that if she remembers that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She can only do that under the influence of yogamaya, that Kṛṣṇa is her son, and he is naughty, and he needs to be corrected. So that point is the by the aspiration, the desire, then we shall know the position, the real position of a Vaiṣṇava, not by his current achievement, but by the aspiration. And part of the reason is that aspiration will be fulfilled. Surely, Kṛṣṇa will not let that aspiration go unnoticed. So why do you see his defect in the present when the Lord himself is ready to dismiss that and pays no attention to that and is being attracted by that desire, and it is guaranteed in future. It is like chastising a prince, you see. Oh, you're not very rich, you have nothing. That's not a good move. He's going to be king. He's going to be king. It is sure. So that even the prince is dealt with just like a king. Because he will be king. It is sure. So once one has accepted in the core of his heart that my only existence is to serve Kṛṣṇa. And of course, this necessitates service of Guru, service of Vaiṣṇava. But in a word, service to Kṛṣṇa. Then that person is accepted as a liberated soul. It is simply a matter of time. That service attitude is the Swarup, or the real form of the living entity. The service attitude is the Swarup, the real form of the living entity. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, also confirms this statement by declaring that the real spiritual form of the living entity is eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord. So this is also a very nice point, the Swarup. The form of the living entity is in dāsya-rasa. Das, service, means das. Swarup means eternal form. Jīva Swarupoy, Nitya Krishna Das. Mahaprabhu tells, the Swarup of the living entity, his eternal form, is that of eternal servitorship to Kṛṣṇa, servant of Kṛṣṇa. I was mentioning this the other day, that in all the rasas, everyone desires service to Kṛṣṇa. And this is the fundamental form of the Swarup, of the living entity. The Mayavad school shudders at the thought of a service attitude in the living entity, not knowing that in the transcendental world, the service of the Lord is based on transcendental love. Transcendental loving service is never to be compared with the forced service of this material world. In the material world, even if one is under the conception that he is no one's servant, he is still the servant of his senses under the dictation of the material modes. So no one likes to do service in the material world. No one likes service, you see. Everyone wants to be free. No one wants to surrender to another living entity. Everyone wants to be free, but ultimately no one is free. Everyone is servant. Ultimately, everyone has to serve their senses. They are living under the dictates of the mind and senses. Factually, no one is master here in the material world, and therefore the servants of the senses have a very bad experience of servitude. So this world is the world of exploitation. What is the word Srila Prabhupada used? Exploitation, material enjoyment, sense gratification. This is a world of exploitation. So someone is always trying to exploit us and engage us in their service in some way or another. So always we have a bad taste for service, because service means you are an exploited individual. Someone is extracting from you, you see, for their satisfaction. They are taking away your energy. So everyone has a bad taste for that, and there is little to no reciprocation for this. After so much energy is extracted from us, we are thrown to the side like a crumpled piece of paper. This is the experience of every living entity in this world, at one time or another. Bad experience, a bad taste of service. However, in transcendental loving service, the servitor is as free as the Lord. The Lord is swarat, or fully independent, and the servant is also fully independent, or swarat, in the spiritual atmosphere, because there is no forced service. So service is independent. Real service in the spiritual world, it is fully independent. It is not forced. Ultimately, what that comes to mean is, oh, Haribol. Hare Krishna. Ultimately, what that comes to mean is that it is not regulated by anything but love. It is not even controlled by the scriptures. Here, we regulate our service according to scriptures. We are guided by the śāstra. We are guided by three things: Guru, Sadhu, and Śāstra. These three things are our guide in this world. Not just Guru, not just Śāstra, or not just Sadhu. Guru, Sadhu, and Sadhu. We looked it up once. How many references Srila Prabhupada made to this point in his preaching once, and we did it with the folio. I forget, it was I don't know, it was some huge number. I can't remember now. It was in the hundreds of times he said Guru, Sadhu, Śāstra. He made this point. This is our point of reference. However, in that world, that is not the point of reference, but love itself is the only guide there. Everyone is guided by love. Love is the Guru there. Love is the Śāstra there. Love is the Sadhu there. That is the perfection going in that. There is Guru there. Our Guru is there. Our group leader is there. The leader of our leader is there, you see. But not as we see that today. Not as we see that today. It has taken on another form. So, transcendental love, transcendental service, it is also independent. It is the expression of our deepest free will. And therefore, it never produces a bad taste, as does the perverted reflection of that service here in the material world. There, the transcendental loving service is due to spontaneous love. So what I said is correct. Service is due to love. It is not due to śāstra. It is not due to any external thing. Service is the right arm of love. If there is love, there is service. If there is love and no service, it is not love. Even shanta-rasa is in dāsya-rasa. It's just the way in which shanta-rasa moves, and it's a little more difficult to determine. Govardhan Hill is in shanta-rasa. He provides so many caves and bowers and kunjas and all these things for Krishna's pastimes. Yamunā, the river, she is shanta-rasa. She provides so many of the things necessary for Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's flute is shanta-rasa. The cows and calves are shanta-rasa. But they are doing what? They are rendering service, you see. They're not just neutral, just waiting, if Krishna wants, he picks them up, plays with them, and when he's finished, he throws them down. No, they are filled with the desire of service also, and love of Krishna, but it is neutral. It is a little on the neutral side. It is not so active. The others we see, they're very moving, very active. They're pushing forward service, coming to Krishna with things. And shanta-rasa is simply submissively waiting for Krishna to come and pluck. Fruits are living entities in shanta-rasa to be eaten by Krishna. They enjoy. They are eaten by Krishna. So, everything is moved by love. Transcendental loving service is due to spontaneous love. Yes, service is the expression of love. If love has not reached to the plane of service, we will not recognize it as complete love. And we reverse that and say, there is no reaching the plane of complete love unless you enter through service, you see. What happened? A reflected glimpse of such service is experienced in the service of the mother unto the son, the friend's service unto the friend, or a wife's service unto the husband. These reflections of service by friends, parents, or wives are not forced, but are due only to love. Here, in this material world, however, the loving service is only a reflection. And the worst part about it is, no offense, but even at best, it's poorly reciprocated. Even at best, it's poorly reciprocated, because it just disappears at a time. It just disappears. Sometimes it disappears when we're in connection with the object of our love and the object to which we are serving, and then in the end, all are separated and nobody knows who was who in the last life and who's meeting who for the first time or the 10th time or the 100th time in this life. It is wrought with so much defect. But mostly the reciprocation is lacking. The appreciation. We all have experience of helping a friend, helping a loved one. So many things, helping, serving, no appreciation. Nothing comes. Nothing comes. A tremendous lack of reciprocation. And just the opposite. There is not a bit of lack in reciprocation to the service which is offered to Kṛṣṇa in the spiritual world. In fact, the reciprocation is forthcoming many-fold to what we can offer to Kṛṣṇa. We're a finite particle of consciousness. Someone was mentioning that some people struggle with the idea that why we have to give everything to God. I mean, he is already so great, and he has so much, and he has so many servitors. Why does he want everything from us? So the answer was given that he's the infinite. He is infinite. And we are finite. That finite measurement is told to be 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair. So we think that we can give a piece of 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair, and that one little teeny part will satisfy the infinite. Actually, we should feel that actually we have nothing to offer in the first place. We can't even be found under a microscope. But if we offer that little thing, as little as we are, if we offer all of it to Kṛṣṇa, then he will be fully satisfied. The infinite will be fully satisfied by this teeny little offering. It is so insignificant. But Maya always says, no, why all of that? Come on. You need to stock for yourself, keep for yourself, fend for yourself, do all these things for yourself, you see. But ultimately, it is all Kṛṣṇa's. Everything is Kṛṣṇa's. There's not even it's not even like just a philosophy, it's a reality. Everything belongs to Kṛṣṇa. This body belongs to Kṛṣṇa. Everything we are belongs to Kṛṣṇa. Oh, I belong to Kṛṣṇa also. In India, in this country, no one says they do service. Everyone has a job. They do work. Everybody does work, they get paid, and they go home. But India society has this particular way of expressing that, which is terrible, you see. You call, sometimes I'll call one of our devotees on the phone, I'll get his son on the phone, and I'll say, where's Yamunā Devī? His son, he's gone to duty. He's gone to service. They call their job service. Where they work, they call it service. But that is not service. They do railway service, veterinarian service, hospital service. It is not service at all. And they call it duty also. It is not just like military duty. They call their job duty. He has gone to duty. Duty and service, you see. It is not our duty, and it has no connection with service. So, in English, another concept in the words developed a long time ago. I have heard it in our Gaudiya line, and I have heard it in the Ramanuja line. I have seen books with the title. It is called Slave of Godhead. The word service is a little weak. It's a little weak, but when we say slave, it's like, whoa. Slave is lost everything and fully the property. So actually, we're not actually servants of Kṛṣṇa. We are slaves of Kṛṣṇa. We are owned by Kṛṣṇa. God owns us. We are for his pleasure, fully. Like material slavery is the worst of the worst. It makes service look good. To get out of slavery, I'd happily become your servant. You see, it's the worst of the worst. But there is nothing higher than to achieve that position, the slave of Kṛṣṇa. The Alwars in the Ramanuja Sampradaya, there were 12 of them. Srila Prabhupada especially, he liked the prayers of King Kulashekar. He's one of the 12 Alwars. There were 12 of them. And although they're all worshippers of Narayan, all of their prayers mostly are about Kṛṣṇa. It's a unique thing that even in the Ramanuja Sampradaya, when we ask them in a particular way, they kind of have to search why it is. And they themselves don't have such a clear idea. And Narayan is God, but they write so much about Kṛṣṇa. So, Srila Prabhupada especially liked these prayers by King Kulashekar. So, these 12 Alwars have been recognized as the divine slaves of the Lord. There's a book called Slaves of the Lord. It's written by someone in the Ramanuja Parampara in the last 100 years, called Slaves of the Lord. So this is also sometimes used in our preaching parampara to indicate something more than this current concept of service, you see. Something even more profound than service. This word of service has often been spoiled with a misunderstanding, you see. Taking a government job. It is my service. You are being paid to do that. There's no service there. It is karma. It is a job. You see, service is done without payment, you see. But that's confused. So slave, we understand, oh, slave, he doesn't get anything. And slave is completely at the disposal of the master. So that is treacherous in this life. But with Kṛṣṇa, with God, it is no treachery, it is all love. He is the master of love, and we are the slave of love. And that type of slavery is desirable, very desirable. Here in this material world, however, the loving service is only a reflection. The real service, or service in Swarup, is present in the transcendental world in association with the Supreme Lord. The very same service is transcendental love. The very same service in transcendental love can be practiced in devotion here. The very same service in transcendental love can be practiced here in devotion. So sadhana bhakti. It may be practiced, that same transcendental service in love may be practiced here. So it is sometimes said, and it's actually a fine line in the Gaudiya school right now about Swarup, about the inherent rasa of the living entity. And some are saying that some living entities have the inherent madhurya ras, some the vatsalya ras, some the sakya ras, some the dāsya-rasa, some the shanta ras. And whatever it is, and it remains such. And through Mahaprabhu's movement, you will rise up to your already waiting eternal ras. Then there is another section that says that your eternal ras is the dāsya-rasa. And then you may enter one of the other planes of rasa, which there's dāsya-dasya, there's dāsya-shanta, dāsya-dasya, dāsya-sakya, dāsya, they're all das. What it means in Goloka, Vrindavan, there's dasya. Who's that? That's the household servants of Kṛṣṇa, who work in Kṛṣṇa's house, in Nanda Baba's house, and render household services to Kṛṣṇa inside Nanda Baba's palace. That's the dāsya-rasa. So there's a dāsya-rasa. So they are servant, and the shakya-rasa, they are also servant. Understand? So in other words, that word is double repeated. There's shanta-dasya, dasya-dasya, sakya-dasya, vatsalya-dasya, madhurya-dasya. All are dasya. So one section says, and that's the section I stand with, that the fundamental rasa of all living entities, all jīvas, is dasya. And then in connection with the higher devotees of various rasas, we will develop a particular attraction or a particular attachment. And when finding that within ourselves, it will appear as our eternal rasa. It will be so accommodating and so comforting that it can be accepted as nothing else than my inherent eternal rasa. But both of the groups of Gaudiya say, in any case, whether it was already there, all agree that love of God is already there. The potential of love is there. But in which rasa you are, there is some talk about how that happens. But everybody agrees, whatever it is, it only can reach perfection in the association of your guru. In the association of guru, then we can enter into our eternal swarup rasa. Otherwise, not. So whether he awakens in us or he gives it to us. Actually, there's a whole group of people, they go all the way back and they reject it from Bhaktivinoda Thakur because of this point that love of God lies dormant in the heart. They reject this. They say there is no love of God in the heart of the living entity. He is stone cold. And only in the company of a guru, he is infused with the seed of this. So they're really getting the fine hair. But these unfortunate fellows even cut it as far back as Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, now Srila Prabhupada says something here which gives a very strong support to what I was just saying, that dāsya-rasa is a fundamental rasa, and then that may develop in the proper association, etc., into participating in Sakya-rasa, Vatsalya-rasa, and even Madhurya-rasa. Now Srila Prabhupada says, this verse is also applicable to the Jnani school. The enlightened Jnani, when free from all material contaminations, namely the gross and subtle bodies, together with the senses of the material modes of nature, is placed in the supreme, and is thus liberated from material bondage. The Jnanis and the devotees are actually in agreement up to the point of liberation from material contamination, whereas the Jnanis remain pacified on the platform of simple understanding. The devotees develop further spiritual attachment in loving service. The devotees develop a spiritual individuality in their spontaneous service attitude, which is enhanced on and on up to the point of Madhurya Rasa. So the entrance into rasa can only be made when one is firmly established as a servant of Kṛṣṇa. When it says follow the footsteps of the gopis, many people say the gopis are always singing about Krishna's pastimes. The gopis are always talking about Krishna's Leela, what he did. And you find people, they want to just do that. But if you see what Srila Prabhupada says, he takes that and explains that as if the gopis were chanting the Mahā-mantra. They are chanting the Mahā-mantra, but not as we know it. They're not just churning milk on Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's not what they're doing. The Mahā-mantra took a different form there. But here, the Leela that they discuss, the pastimes of Krishna, took another form here, took the form of the Mahā-mantra. In that way, we should always continually discuss and talk constantly. Don't leave anything. Don't talk about anything else except that, you see. Of course, practical application, yes? But means fill your mouth with the holy name, 24 hours a day, even when you're asleep. Always filling the mouth with the holy name. There, the holy name has taken another form. It's rare when someone actually utters the Mahā-mantra there. It is unraveled there. Here it is. That world is compact in one mantra. The eightfold pastimes of Kṛṣṇa are present in the Mahā-mantra. Kṛṣṇa and all the avatars.
I think you described it there by understanding the dynamics of dasya. That we have a legitimate process, or we should understand what is there in the realm of love and service. Therefore, like all Kṛṣṇa Katha that we qualify for, like the Coward Boys and everything else, that is relishable and should be constantly meditated upon. So that is sadhya.
For example, Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari. That song is here. Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. I never think of Rupa Goswami as Rupa Manjari. One day, one of my disciples, an older devotee, he's just 10 years younger than I am, we were somewhere in a lawyer's office doing some processing of papers for our land. And I was running around, he was waiting there, and I came back, and he was writing something. And I just said, what are you doing? I just asked, what are you doing? Because I've been gone for an hour. He says, I'm writing a letter. I said, who are you writing? He said, Rupa Manjari. So I was like, Rupa Manjari, we have a Rupa Raghunath, we have a Rupa Sanatana, Rupa Manjari. So who's Rupa Manjari? He goes, Rupa Manjari. And I went, you were writing Rupa Manjari? And I lectured nonstop to him for 3 continuous days, while he was washing clothes, while he was serving me prasadam, while I was laying down to go to sleep. I was unrelenting. You have only one prayer to Rupa Manjari. It is in this book. You may sing it. End of story. Don't try to take it beyond that. And if you really want to know Rupa Manjari, try to understand what was Rupa Goswami. That is relevant to our existence. Now, many people are painting pictures. This one is Rupa Manjari. They're making Astashaki, Astamanjari meditation, and also pictures of their guru as a gopi and all these things. These things are polluted. Don't go. You cannot paint that. You're lucky that you can have a painting of Kṛṣṇa. And after that, there is no... Actually, is that a picture of Kṛṣṇa? It is. Is that a picture of Kṛṣṇa? It is. And that is a picture of Kṛṣṇa? It is. Why do they all look different? Because no one can paint a Kṛṣṇa picture. You only know it's supposed to be Kṛṣṇa. Because he's blue, he has a peacock feather, and it's Rasa Leela, and this and that, and all that. No one can paint a picture of Kṛṣṇa. Why didn't anybody ever paint a picture of Mahaprabhu? Do you ever think about it? It's only 500 years ago. The printing press just came a little later. They had artists that could detail anything in this creation. And Prataparudra was a madman for the service of Mahaprabhu. Why didn't he commission an artist to paint him? You can't paint what he is. And even if you could, that's not what he is, because the paintbrush cannot come to that level. The pen, it cannot come to that. It's even a mystery how transcendental sound can exist, you see. And they knew that is not the necessity, that is not the requirement. What is required is realization. May he be established eternally in the core of your heart. That was the benediction of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. May he be eternally established in the core of your heart. They never even attempted to paint pictures of Lord Chaitanya. There must have been a profound reason. This is, as I once heard, this is not a picture-looking religion. We are for form, the Supreme Lord, we are worshippers of his form. And those pictures are windows to the spiritual world. But that is only a point of inference within us if we are qualified to see that, you see. Just like please no one be offended, but I'm very much against Prabhupada t-shirts, Jagannath t-shirts, and all these things. The reason is, yeah, it's Prabhupada. And the next place he is with the socks on the floor. And then he's in the washing machine. And then he's hung up to dry, or toasted to a crisp, along with my woolly hat and my pillow cover. And then like that, or neglected. Even on the wall where he is, where Radha and Kṛṣṇa are on the wall, it should be respected. Now, it was the Australians that started this, actually. It wasn't Srila Prabhupada that started this. But again, he didn't say not to. They made t-shirts of him. But can we also not be the ones to say not to? You see, he had a button of his Guru Maharaj on his... I see in time that's gone now. That's not the trend anymore. Prabhupada had a button of Saraswati Thakur, and there was once a time when some people had 6 buttons on their bead bag. Buttons got this big. I could tell you where you're at by your button, you know. And
the GBC resolution saying you couldn't put a button of your Guru on your bead bag. We were hoping that they would restructure the GBC, but instead we got the no button rule.
Once I was going to a program about 8 years ago, and it was going to be a cross-cultural program. It was going to be myself and my little group and a group of 27 devotees from ISKCON in India. So that was called an interfaith program. And I thought, see, I know I'm up against a lot of bad propaganda. What can I do to improve this? So I thought, I should have a Prabhupada button. So I went to Loy Bazaar, I went to a Lok shop, and I asked him, show me the buttons of Srila Prabhupada. They're terrible. The buttons they had were terrible. I guess they were already getting out of vogue or something. And there weren't any nice ones. And the nicest one was a real small one, you know, and it was all scratchy. He just didn't have any stock. So I said, oh, well. Anyway, I would have been outdone anyway because the sannyasi at the head of that program, and he had a button. It was 6 inches in diameter of Prabhupada. So I would have been considered a small Prabhupada man, for sure. You know? So, but we did, and even good things can get carried away. So, you know, but one day I heard it was Bimal Prasad in Mayapur, who is a Gurukul headmaster there, teacher there. He told me that he actually Bimal Prasad runs a big chunk of the Gurukul in Mayapur, and his wife runs the Gurukul. She is a full disciple of Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, and he is a half disciple of Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. And they have been working in Prabhupada's movement for their whole lives, since just before Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. Anyway, he told me one day that a devotee came in and he had a beautifully embroidered Jagannath. They do these embroiderings. I think they do it in Russia, and I think they do it in Nepal. Beautifully embroidered Jagannath in his black t-shirt. Beautiful Jagannath. And Srila Puri Maharaj almost wouldn't stop incessantly offering prayers to Jagannath as this devotee was standing in front of him. You see? Now, if I was that devotee, I'd have felt a little bit embarrassed. You see?
Okay, but actually, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt that.
Yeah.
But actually, our main concern is sound. Kṛṣṇa really appears in sound.
Yeah, sound is the main thing.
Shabda is
That-
the thing.
That should also be dealt with. And the Mahā-mantra, although it has come down and it can go everywhere, still we should have great respect for the holy name. We're not in the mood of awe and reverence. Our mood is ragamarga. We should try to cultivate feelings of spontaneity. Not that we just have to be told we're standing somebody's cooking, you know, and we just have to be told, Prabhu, could you do some service? And then, oh yes, you know. Better than that is you just look and go, oh, could I help with that service? That type of thing we want to cultivate, you see. But we should respect what is service. We should respect the holy name and not just kick it about. It's not a football, you see. Although it goes higher and lower and in every direction, it has to be dealt with very respectfully. One of the nice ways to deal respectfully with the holy name is to put a lot of that respect into your bead bag. Where do you put it when you're finished? You know, it's like, you know, wherever it goes, you should be tracing it with your head, you see, not just throwing your beads in the corner. And there was one devotee once, he came in the room of one. Actually, he wasn't a Prabhupada disciple, but he was a second generation disciple type. And he came in a room and he told the Maharaj, "Oh, can I leave my bag here? We're going to Calcutta." Yes, you can leave it there. So he put it in the room. He came back, but during the day that sannyasi looked, and there was a pair of shoes in that bag, and there was a Bhagavatam, one of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatams was stuck in the bag with the shoes. So that devotee in his room, he just kept seeing that. So he finally went over and took the Bhagavatam out of the shoe bag and, you know, put it on the shelf, right? So when he came back, that man came back to get his bag. He said, "Oh, Prabhu, don't mind it, but I took the Bhagavatam out of your bag because it is on the shoe. And Bhagavatam shouldn't go to the shoe, you know." Oh, he said, "Oh, Maharaj, we are from West. We don't know anything. We're very, very sorry." And he had his beads in his hand. So that devotee had his japa beads in his hand. So he wanted to offer obeisances to that sannyasi for good instruction. So he took his beads and set them on his shoes. So I think that's what Prabhupada called washing the coal, you know, straightening the dog's tail. It just keeps coming back. So we should, those things which are related to the holy name, we try to give some conscious reverence for those things. And although awe and reverence is not, these two qualities are not qualities, actually, they are and they aren't, but first they aren't qualities in Ragamarg. Without awe and reverence for the Ragamarg, you cannot approach it without making offenses. So first leave awe and reverence, which means fear and all these things hidden beneath, for God behind. Be spontaneous. Be loving. And then, when entering the higher plane, again, fill yourself with awe and reverence for that world. It demands it. It commands it. Do not be a cavalier there. With the greatest respect. Whenever our Srila Sridhar Maharaj spoke the name of Radharani, he folded his hands. Only on the greatest exception did that not happen. If he even uttered the name of Radharani, he folded his hands. The highest conception of service, the embodiment of the highest love of God, the figure of the highest beauty, which even attracts Kṛṣṇa. When he spoke of that, he spoke of that with the greatest reverence and caution that is imaginable. And sometimes when he would sometimes devotees would ask a question and he would head towards that plane in his discussion, suddenly he would stop and shake his head and fold his hands and say, we are not fit to discuss such things. But yet there are young boys and young girls running around thinking that they have captured the Madhurya Ras and they've got it in the bag. It is only an illusion. It is another Kṛṣṇa and another Ras. It is not that one. It is not that one. That one reflects many things in us. And cavaliering spirit and all these things are not to be found. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he was. And some point of references. But is that all that he was? Was he also proud and arrogant? All these things, what he was? No. Many things what he was. So we will look to see many things in the higher devotee. Not just one thing. Many things. But did any... yeah, I'm sorry.
You're speaking about Smaranam, and you should first focus on
Kirtanam.
But shouldn't we all... I read in some Prabhupada's books where he's encouraging us to develop that remembrance of Krishna's pastimes.
That's true. That's why the Kṛṣṇa book is there. Actually, the Bhāgavatam just touches. If you study, you'll see in the Bhāgavatam in 10th canto and Rasa Lila itself, but all the pastimes of that, Krishna's killing demons. These are anarthas. He's massacring the anarthas within our heart. To hear how Kṛṣṇa kills the demons, this is purifying to those. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote corresponding to the various principal anarthas that trouble devotion, and Krishna's killing Denakasura kills this one. I don't remember which ones they are. So we should pay great attention to those pastimes. Then coming to the Rasa Lila, there is only one, actually in the whole Rasa Lila, there's only one verse which goes into intimacy, and it only just mentions it and comes back. Doesn't say anything, and there's no purports to that verse. No purport means no talk. You heard it? Kṛṣṇa painted bumblebees on the breast of the devotees. Finish. You have no right to say anything. You heard it. That's good enough. No discussion. It is not a matter of discussion. But what is there is the feelings of separation. Kṛṣṇa for his devotee for Kṛṣṇa. The feelings of separation for each other. This is profound lesson that must be learned. To enter into this world, we have to develop such a deep attachment to Kṛṣṇa that even a moment's separation from him is like 12 years or more. Did somebody we know utter that prayer? And we think we can jump past that? Is that where is that? We have to come to that standard. So that is called the process of hearing. And there are things in the Chaitanya Charitamrita which are actually not less than 10 times more intimate than anything found in the Bhāgavatam. I mean, it's just there on your ear. And you go through those sections, which mainly devotees don't go through, because even when starting to read, they just feel that this is just, it's too high, it's too deep in love. So when you do qualify to read those things, you just don't go jumping up, running over to your neighbor and making it the picnic conversation. Like, let's all have a Rath Yatra and just sit around and talk about Gopi Bhav. You know, that's not Gopi Bhav at all. This is nothing. This is cheapening the process, you see. When you actually have a taste for this, it's more than stunning. And it is said, I don't give you the verse, but it is said that one who reveals his bhajan loses his bhajan. The highest things remain within. Let me just, okay. Srila Sridhar Maharaj spoke many, many things. And in the last days of his life, he would sit on the roof outside his temple or on his veranda. And he would just sit alone, and he would just move a little left or right, like in a swooning mood with his beads. And he would sing songs and prayers, like almost to himself. But he's singing prayers to his Lord. One devotee was to sneak up and just put a tape recorder there and go away. And then come back an hour later, and there it was. So later this was printed in a small book called Bhakti Rakshak Bhajan Madhuri, the sweet bhajan of Srila Bhakti Rakshak. Now, he preached to the Western devotees for almost 9 years. 9 years. There's 2,000 hours. No, there's 1,000 hours of recorded lecture. In these tapes that were secretly taken from him, actually. And there was a controversy to even publish these, because some devotees said they were stolen because they were secretly recorded. There was a big controversy amongst a certain little group of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's followers. And actually that book has been published for years, but it's covered by Yogamaya, in my opinion, because nobody reads it. Hardly. And I have looked at it, and I have read it, and there are verses in there. There are things in there in relation to, they're divided into tattvas. The person who put it together, there's Guru Tattva, Nityananda Tattva, Nam Tattva, Gaur Tattva, Kṛṣṇa Tattva, Radha Tattva, Manjari Tattva. And in the Guru Tattva, yes, many of the verses which Srila Sridhar Maharaj used to speak and everything, but as it moves up, and when it moved into Manjari Tattva, there are long songs that he would sometimes sing, and he never, ever quoted them in preaching. Preaching does not mean to quote the love pastimes of Radha and Kṛṣṇa. That is not preaching. Preaching means Bhagavad Gita. Preaching means Nam Sankirtan. This is preaching. Preaching means Bhagavad Gita. 9 cantos must be expertly gone through. Then 10th canto. So, but these things were there, but they are not given out. They are not given to people. They are not the show of attraction. They are very internal development, and they are to be kept secret. They are not to be made public. Many evidences of that. One night, we watched Srila Puri Maharaj preaching for a couple of years, and one night he almost expired in Vrindavan. He almost left this world. I believe Ramdas Prabhu spent that night with him. And his preaching was always in the line very much as you would expect from our Prabhupada or any bona fide disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. Then, to his own estimation, his final hour had come. He wanted to hear Gopi Gita from Bhagavatam. Gopi Gita it is called. The love songs of the gopis, and in Sanskrit also. But he recovered and lived with us another 6 or 7 years, but did not preach to us Gopi Gita. He preached the standard of Gaudiya preaching. What is preaching? So, 2 things. What we preach, and then, yes, there is that plane of divine love, and we should have some eagerness for that. Not like every time we run across something in the book about the gopis, we just shut that page and flip to the next chapter. You read it. But don't make it the chit-chat of the picnic, you see. 16, 18-year-old boys and girls people who are married 5 times and still not settled, running around talking about Manjari Bab. Yeah, they know about Parakya Ras. Yeah, sure. No problem for that. But qualified for Parakya Ras? No qualification. So we should feel, just because we're in material existence, a little shame, actually. We're in material existence. Even we should feel some personal shame in the form of humility. I am not fit to serve Kṛṣṇa. And just we should cultivate the desire. I want to be fit, and I want to serve Kṛṣṇa, but I am unfit. And I have heard, never give that up. It's not like, okay, I did that, I'm ready to move on now. No. That's a proof you're not ready to move on. Because when you're really ready to move on, we can't drag you on. No, I am not fit. I cannot go. I am unfit for that. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, when he encountered Rasa Lila Katha in Vrindavan, he was invited one day, he came, Rasa Lila was being discussed. He paid his obeisances and left. And when asked why he left, he said, I am unfit, and my Guru Maharaj has not allowed me. I will make offense if I hear such things. So we think we're better than he is. We will hear all these things and we will make no offense. We're the grandest fools that ever walked the face of the earth. To think that we can supersede such an example, which all of his disciples, as I told the other day, except for 2, followed immaculately throughout their life, dealing only with the highest respect for the higher Leela of Kṛṣṇa, and never making it a show for the public. Did I tell you the story when the gentleman came to get authorization to do a Kṛṣṇa Leela drama in Bhuvaneshwar from Srila Prabhupada? And they were a professional dance troupe, a play troupe. And they came to ask a blessing to do the Kṛṣṇa Leela drama. And Prabhupada, they asked for his blessing. He said no. Then they jockeyed it, and he said no. And if you look this up in the folio, you have never seen Srila Prabhupada say no so many times in 1 hour or an hour and a half in your life. And the more they pushed, the more he said no. The more they pushed, he said no. The more they pushed, he said no. And he never relented. Finally they said, whoa, can we do Swami B.G? Finally, they're changing their whole plan. Swami B.G, if we can do like, Mother Yasoda and Kṛṣṇa, because this, this is very nice, because Prabhupada's saying, they will misunderstand. Gopis. So, Samvatsa, no. He refused. Then in the end he said, if you want to show some Leela of Kṛṣṇa, show Bhagavad Gita. And they went away. No blessing to do their dramas. You see, dramas cannot be shown, actually should not be shown to the public. They are for devotees. They should be performed by pure devotees. Why do we have the children do them? Because that's the closest thing to purity we can catch in this world is innocence, you see. But that is not actually. It is not the thing to show. Preaching dramas are very good, where Kṛṣṇa is preaching, where he's killing demons, destroying evil. Don't try to show his love pastimes with gopis and things like this. But, with the plays with Sudama Brahman, which have a purport. That's the Hari Katha, which we should engage so much in to understand these pastimes, the reciprocation, Parthasarthi. What does it mean, Parthasarthi? Kṛṣṇa becomes a chariot driver. Bhagavan, God becomes the servant of his devotee. Love is supreme. Love conquers him. These are the types of things we should try to understand and talk about. Yes. Well, but I'm sorry, but he wanted to say something first.
It's kind of a fine line to walk, because we also don't want to discount the hopefulness that some of our God-bearers in the Vaiṣṇava community all over the world will one day get the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara and become Raghunaga devotees.
Yes, but see, anybody who's even close to that line is going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you. And who's telling you that the most, I'm telling you, is closer to that line, closer to that end. And the better they are at it, the better they are in that end, they'll be more convincing, you see. In other words, I'm not shooting that down. I'm talking, this is the approach to the Raganuga world. I have heard much, I have seen much, and there's an approach to that. There are sometimes devotees who stay with me for years, and they know after years they're just beginning, because something else is given, something else comes out. So we are in Ragamarg. We are Raganuga Bhaktas. But the manner in dealing with it is you must be founded in this negativity that I am not fit, I am not qualified. I don't say you. Many people now go, there are no pure devotees. Nobody's a pure devotee. Speak for yourself. You know, and what I'm saying, I'm speaking about myself. I'm not speaking about you. When I say you're not fit, I'm shouting at myself. I'm not shouting at you. You may be very fit. But what we're doing, we're shouting the standard. And anybody who's actually qualified, that sound is nectar. You are not fit for this. And if you are fit for this, that sound is like honey to you. You see? And when you're not fit for this, you try to assert against that. Why? I am? Oh, that's nonsense. You know? That's what I thought. You're not fit for this. So it's a no-win situation. You are not fit for this. And Radharani herself says, I am not fit to serve Kṛṣṇa. I could not serve Kṛṣṇa. I am incapable of serving Kṛṣṇa. And that what, we believe that? No, we don't believe that. We know different. We know she is so fit. Prabhupada will say, my only qualification is, and then you'll believe that? Do you believe that? And no, that's not his only qualification. But then at another point you might realize, oh, actually that is the only qualification. Nothing else is really a qualification. Only the qualification to serve our Guru leads to success. That is the mother of all qualifications. So yes, that is his only qualification. Because he has that only qualification, therefore he has so many qualifications. Philosophy is like that. The philosophy of love is also like that. You see? You establish a point, it is true, and the next minute it is false. First, you are not this body. I am not this body. Now give up being this body, consciousness, and reach perfection. And when you reach perfection, yes, you are the body. So you people mad or something? First you lived your life telling you're not the body, and then you say the perfection is, you is the body. You are the body. Yeah, we just changed the body to a spiritual body. And we're not a soul in a spiritual body. No. It is like the rose has come out of the seed. Now the consciousness is in a seed form. Only when it attains love and rasa does it attain swarup, its spiritual form.
Actually, you've already answered what I asked, but it's just a clarification. The deviant approach to that higher realm is sometimes justified with Prabhupada's own instructions or words, because there is some letters, and also that famous instruction of Prabhupada in the introduction to the Kṛṣṇa book, where he states that for one to be free from material lust, one is best to understand Krishna's amorous nature and his amorous dealings.
His amorous.
Yeah, amorous dealings. So I'm paraphrasing, but one is that's Prabhupada. And also Prabhupada has written, when some disciples said, Prabhupada, I'm so agitated by sex desire. Prabhupada said, oh, actually, he would mostly say, you chant your rounds, so that'll take care of it. But also, he in one or two letters, he said, actually, if you meditate on the love of Kṛṣṇa and the gopis, this will free you of much of your lust. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That is also
so
there.
They use this as the gateway. Oh, Prabhupada told us to do this.
That did not. Yeah. Okay. This is just begging the question. We were told so many things to do, but now this is the only one we're really ready to do. We were told so many things to do to progress in spiritual life. We are told about the quality of that life. We are told about the highness of that plane, and then we insist on doing that. So then, is there no more lust now? It is all gone, my dear. Oh, They're giving prema. They're giving rasa. Then we just say, anybody got it yet? And the answer is no. Anybody got that ras? Anybody got that prema? Just got it is given so cheap? No. It is not a cheap thing. And hearing it and going beyond what you should be hearing is also there. I know a lot about the pastimes of Radha and Kṛṣṇa. I have heard many things about the pastimes of Radha and Kṛṣṇa. And a couple things I wanted to tell you, just little small things, because just for the sake of letting you know, these things don't exist there in their camp exclusively. Rather, there these things are dealt with inappropriately. Now, I'll tell you just a few little tidbits, and there are devotees that have been with me over 10 years and have never heard me explain this to them. Where does the holy name of Kṛṣṇa come from? Anybody have an idea? That's a big place up there. Where does it come from? And what does it mean? What is Hare? What is Kṛṣṇa? What is Rama? What is Rama? What is Kṛṣṇa? What is Hare? The supreme enjoyer. So, where does the name come from? Actually, Rama is not simply Balaram. Mahā-mantra is a Kṛṣṇa mantra, fully. And Mahā-mantra is a Madhurya mantra, fully. It is not anything other than Mukhya Ras mantra, Madhurya mantra. Oh, where do these names come from? These names descend from Goloka, Golokera Premadan, Harinam Sankirtan, coming down in the form of the Sankirtan from the eternal Goloka. Goloka, the world, the lotus of the Lord's divine pastimes. From where in the pastimes do these names descend? First, like I asked the other day, when that group came here, did you see something? And somebody said, no. And I said, okay, well, you're just beginning to see the show at hand. When the full band comes here, you're going to be amazed. It's quite a performance. And you will hear this. You will hear the Mahā-mantra in another way. You will hear Radhe Kṛṣṇa, Radhe Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Śyāma, Radhe Śyāma, Śyāma Śyāma, Radhe Radhe. That is also the Mahā-mantra. That is the translation of Mahā-mantra in the Gaudiya school. And sometimes chanted by Bhakti Vinod Saraswati Thakur. You'll see Srila Puri Maharaj chanting japa. Yes, that's on one of the tapes. Chanting japa without beads. He's chanting japa. And he's chanting his japa, and all of a sudden his japa becomes that. Radhe Kṛṣṇa, Radhe Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare means Radhe. Radhe Kṛṣṇa, Radhe Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Radhe Radhe. Radhe Śyāma, Radhe Śyāma, Śyāma Śyāma, Radhe Radhe. I have heard Srila Maharaj chant that. Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj chant that. Srila Puri Maharaj chant that. This is not a show. All my disciples, they have seen that. They know I know that. We have sometimes discussed that. And they have never seen me chant that. This is not a show. Yeah, I have also chanted that. It is not a show. Let's just chant the neat way, the Mahā-mantra. That is not what that is. It is something deeper than that. It is not for show. You understand what I'm saying? So, where does the Mahā-mantra come from? The Mahā-mantra comes from the Madhurya pastimes of Radha and Kṛṣṇa. It is their call for one another in their pastimes of separation. Mahā-mantra is a Vipralambha mantra. It does not take us to Sambhog. It takes us to the plane of Vipralambha, where we can render the highest service possible, is afforded to us. When they are in Vipralambha Leela, we can enter in highest plane of service. We will be given the opportunity to prove our worth there. So it begins not with Radharani's separation from Krishna, but with Krishna's separation from Radharani. And he calls for Radharani. Radhe, Hare. And she responds, Kṛṣṇa. And he responds, Hare. And again, and she responds, Kṛṣṇa. And then again she says, Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. And he responds, Hare, Hare. And it goes like this. This is also described by Srila Sridhar Maharaj, printed in one book, a small book. But it comes from Goloka. It comes from the most intimate pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And it takes us there. Despite there being volumes of literature describing Krishna's pastimes, the authors of those books do not say that these descriptions supersede the Mahā-mantra. Your safest entrance into the eternal world is through the holy name of Krishna. And it is sometimes shown that it is so sure that sometimes an acharya doesn't hardly even touch upon the narrations of the pastimes. Because the process of purification and the actual entrance into the Leela is all in one. What is it meaning? The way and the means and the goal. How did Srila Prabhupada say it? Yeah. The means and the goal. Yeah. All in one. Safe and sound. Going this way. And actually, what other description we are to get, actually that is for those who are absorbed in love. Those books of the higher Leela of Krishna is not for the sadhak practice, it's for the siddha. It's for the perfected devotee whose heart is melted in love. This is the ambrosia of life then. This is the nectar of life. When Mahaprabhu was in a lovesick mood, when he was in a lovesick mood, they would pour these pastimes into his ears. See it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ramananda Roy sometimes taking the position of Krishna and speaking the verses, Mahaprabhu uttering the verses of Radharani. Just see it, the wonder of it all. And sometimes he would go beyond consciousness. And he would enter that world and he would see Krishna. He would see Radharani. Some description is mentioned. It happened many times, but only we are told 1 or 2 times what it is. They just have some idea. And he's plucking flowers and he's serving Radha and Krishna with the other gopis. It is that particular one time it is told to us, it is Mahaprabhu revealing that the highest position attainable for a jiva will be that of a manjari, maidservant to the shakis. Not a shaki. You don't become a shaki. You can become a maidservant of the shakis. So something is shown there. But then kirtan of the holy name brings him back. And the Acharya's purport, that even he's there in those pastimes, Mahaprabhu is given preference to the holy name of Krishna. So don't give up the holy name of Krishna, and don't think that just because you had a 3-hour kirtan, now you can talk the rest of the night about the love bite pastimes of Krishna. Yes, Radharani sometimes is bitten by Krishna. And the bite mark appears on a gopi a kilometer away. That's the vicarious experience of love. They are so deeply connected to her that what she is experiencing, they're experiencing right down to a bite. So yeah, we have also been told that Krishna sometimes bites Radharani. He has sometimes painted a bee or a bumblebee on her breast. But don't go on and on there trying to unravel that intimacy. That is not advised. You will not get that from any of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples or from him. So then who are you? Who do you think you are? I say who to whoever. It is outside what is given. And what is given in this way is for a reason, as I told you. It is for a reason. It is not just the fact that you are unqualified. Vipralamba is superior to Sambhog. And in dealing with this, by always discussing that and going deep, they are getting in the mood of Sambhog, my friend. And that is a defect. Because they have still Bhog. Bhog means enjoyment. If you have still enjoyment, but you're in plane of separation, that is purifying to your enjoyment. If you enter into Sambhog with Krishna, union, and you have enjoyment, that will produce aparad. But Vipralamba won't produce aparad in you. It won't produce aparad in you, and in the end, when you fire your arrow, it will go the distance. It will not fall short, but they will fall short. Mahaprabhu himself has shown that this most powerful mood of love is Vipralamba. He wants to experience the mood of separation, what Radharani is feeling in her intense moods of separation. And when entering those moods, he becomes a madman. So, in the beginning, when these things are discussed, it sounds like one side is just hear about Leela. And then this cautionary preaching, what is he saying? Don't hear any Leela. No, that's a mistake. ISKCON made that mistake. We're not Ragamara. We are Ragamara. We are nothing but Ragamara. I am only in Ragamara. You are only in Ragamara. But a lot of inattention is present. And they are coming and taking advantage of our inattention. So actually, they are coming with a good lesson. We have to be attentive to the depth of Krishna consciousness. And the challenge is, when we become deeply aware of the depth of Krishna consciousness, we'll discover they're not very deep at all. But somehow or another, they've come along and given us a good push. That's like the story. We are not gopi haters. We are only for gopis. We have Gopi Bhav mantra. Prabhupada gave that to us. And also mysteriously did not utter a word about it. Also, that was... And without the grace of Srila Śrīmad Mahārāja, we still wouldn't know anything about it. And the proof of it is, unless you heard from him about it, none of the other sannyasis know. But by now, this conversation's been going on, now they know. Because somebody captured my purport of that mantra and distributed it and published it somewhere. And there's been a lot of talk, but still, there's a vast number of sannyasis that don't even have a clue of what that mantra is and how it fits in. So, I was going to tell one story, but probably it's getting too late. Is it too late? No?
No.
I personally have to go to Vancouver. I'm going to Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I didn't know.
We'll see you later.
go.
All right, are you
I
coming
also
back?
have to put the link order.
All right, so maybe we should wind it up now? Or?
Much nectar.
Okay, one short story.
Okay.
Because I wanted to tell this.
One for the road.
Okay, one for the road.
I'm going to keep it in Vipralam, but have it when I come back.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Should I tell or not tell?
Please tell. Please
Well,
tell.
this was in relation to Swarup, because this is about, as the verse is about Swarup. It's the story of Shyamananda Goswami. You may have heard it before. And you will hear it when the roadshow comes to town. You'll hear it eventually. So I thought I'd just say something about that so you may understand it. Again, there's not a monopoly out there on this. In fact, you hear this, and if you hear the same story, try to hear closely and see if you get the same purport. And in this way, there is a great difference from hearing these same things from the proper source and working many years on the qualification as opposed to getting them from an improper source and having no qualification. So this is the story of Shyamananda.
Actually, you told me this whole story yesterday.
Oh, you got it. So you can go.
That's a very, very wonderful story, especially the purport, the intricacies.
All right, Hari Bol. Swami, his name was Dukhi Krishna Das. Dukhi means miserable, unhappy. Unhappy Krishna Das. That was his birth name was Dukhi, miserable, unhappy. His parents named him, all their children died before his birth. And thus all his brothers and sisters had died. And so when he was born, the surviving child, for some reason they named him Dukhi, means unhappy. He will be an unhappy boy because his brothers and sisters have died. So it was sad. The birth of the child, happy, but sad he has no brothers and sisters. And there was no chance they will have any more children. So they called him Dukhi. Then later he came in contact with his guru. He became known as Krishna Das. Dukhi Krishna Das was his name. He was a disciple of Hriday Chaitanya. Hriday Chaitanya was a disciple of one of the Dwadasa Gopals, one of the 12 cowherd boys who descended along with Lord Nityananda Prabhu's special entourage. They were cowherd boys of Braj. There were 12 of them, and they come along with Lord Balaram. So Hridaya Chaitanya was in that parampara. Hridaya Chaitanya was and still is recognized as a Sakya-ras bhakta. His rasa is Sakya-ras. So it was taken, and it was also taken by Dukhi Krishna Das at initiation and all these things, that he was admitted into Sakya-ras. Then Hridaya Chaitanya sent him to Vrindavan and told him, remain there under Jīva Goswami, and you will learn more there. So he sent him there to take shiksha from Jīva Goswami, who was living in that Radha Damodar area. So Dukhi Krishna Das, he came there and he lived under the shelter of Jīva Goswami for some time. And it is said he used to perform the service of a vanamali, means a forest gardener. There are paths leading through the bowers in Sevakunjari, and he would just make sure no thorns were on the path, that a Prabhu is going to come along and gouge his foot on a 3-inch long sticker, and just things like that, you know. He would take debris from the trees, and he is doing vanamali service, but in a very high vana, in the place of Rasa Leela. One day he came upon a bangle. I think in Hindi they call it, or Bengali, Nipur. Nipur means a bangle. He came upon a bangle, a foot bangle, not an arm bangle, a foot bangle. It's an oblong shape bangle. And it was a golden bangle. So he found it in the sand. Then suddenly a cowherd girl was seen coming down the path looking like this. Then when she approached, he asked, "You are in search of something?" And he said, "Yes." She said, "Yes, my mistress has lost her bangle here. It is a gold bangle, foot bangle." And he said, "Oh, I have found that." Then he just felt some intuition, and he said, "But it is obviously valuable. Let your mistress come. She should come, and I'll give the bangle." So then Radharani came. It was Radharani's bangle. Then, seeing Radharani, there are different narrations of the story. Some say he went into a faint, and different things are there. But Radharani took the bangle and pressed it on his forehead and made a tilak line on his forehead that comes down, straight onto the nose, loops across the nose, and goes back up. She just rolled this onto his forehead. It never came off his forehead the rest of his life. That tilak is still seen in Vrindavan in the line of Shyamananda Goswami. So, with this experience, he returned to see Jīva Goswami. And it wasn't just the external, but he found that after that experience, he found an irresistible attraction in Madhurya Ras. And previously, he was in Sakya Ras. But he related to Jīva Goswami that he's found miraculously, since this experience, he seems to have been taken to another plane, rasa. So it is said in these words, Jīva Goswami examined him. I don't think he looked in his ear and such things as a doctor examines, or quizzed him just like a schoolboy. But Jīva Goswami has such understanding, and he could see that, yes, he has been taken from Sakya Ras to the Madhurya Ras. So that is the first thing, that even after being situated in rasa, according to the wish of higher authorities, a devotee may be taken to yet another rasa, or even a higher rasa, from Sakya to Madhurya Ras. So then he was given the name Shyamananda. Shyamananda Goswami, Shyamananda Prabhu. This name was given to him by Jīva Goswami. Then, this was all an internal development. It was not a public affair. Then, in Braj at the time, many devotees were living, many had come from Bengal. Suddenly the word spread around that Dukhi Krishna Das, he's been reinitiated. His name has changed. He's now Shyamananda Prabhu. And the word spread all the way to Hridaya Chaitanya in Bengal. Hridaya Chaitanya, now this touches on the omniscient issue also. Hridaya Chaitanya didn't know anything about this. And he was surprised. What? My disciple, his name has changed? I don't know. And his tilak, he's not wearing the tilak. That school of Hridaya Chaitanya, I believe they wore more what we know as the Nityananda Vamsa, 2 lines and then long, thin tulsi leaf. And his tilak has changed? And I don't know. And he felt some disturbance about that. And he is, Hridaya Chaitanya is a, and all liberated souls, as some people say, know everything that's going on. Well, Hridaya Chaitanya didn't know what was going on. And actually he became a little perturbed. Why Jīva has done this? And Jīva is actually junior to him also. So he was irritated by this. In time, Hridaya Chaitanya came. And actually it become a scandal in Vrindavan. Jīva Goswami has reinitiated Hridaya Chaitanya's disciple. It became a scandal in Vrindavan, actually. Then Hridaya Chaitanya came and he sent a message for his disciple to come. And Shyamananda Prabhu asked Jīva Goswami to go with him, and Jīva Goswami said, no, you will go, and Kṛṣṇa he will adjust everything. Yeah. You must have faith. And he went to see his guru very respectfully, and seeing that tilak, Hridaya Chaitanya, was immediately just said, remove that tilak. Why are you wearing this tilak? Remove that tilak. You are my disciple, remove that tilak. Then he told him, Guru Maharaj, this tilak doesn't remove. It doesn't come off. And Hridaya Chaitanya said, just come here, I'll remove it. So his disciple came and presented his face, and with his cloth, Hridaya Chaitanya started to rub off that tilak. Then, in the eternal plane of Leela, they are aware, they are omniscient, they could understand the peculiar circumstances or situation. And so some relief came from the spiritual world. Radharani is said to have gone to Subal or sent Lalita, go to Subal and tell him that we have captured one of his clan and we have taken to Madhurya Ras. So they did that, and Subal could understand that this Dukhi Kṛṣṇa Das there, he has now been recruited into the Madhurya Das section. And this Hridaya Chaitanya, he's in that line, Sakiras and Subal, he's at the top of that line, way up there at the top. So he sent down that transcendental vibration. And as Hridaya Chaitanya was scrubbing the forehead of his disciple, Shyamananda, trying to remove that tilak, then the inspiration entered. And then he became omniscient in the sense that, then he understood, great fortune to my disciple has come, great fortune. Not by an external explanation, you see what happened. Only it came down from his line, his parampara. It came and revealed, great fortune, my disciple has come to him, and he's been taken into the Madhurya Ras section. And then Hridaya Chaitanya gave expression to that, to everybody else who's looking on in wonder. Understand? Expression to that means he explained it. No harm has been done, no offense has been committed. I am very happy, I am proud, I am pleased, I am very satisfied. My disciple, by the grace of Jīva Goswami, he has been taken into the Madhurya Rasa. And all the Vaiṣṇavas were satisfied. And no one went away from that meeting feeling that something was done wrong. So, several things in that narration, that the swarup of the living entity from one ras to another, it may change, but only in relation to higher intervention. And it is rare. It is more rare. But it sometimes happens. And it happens more than once. And it is sometimes shown to us here, as in the example of Shyamananda Goswami. But there, it happens more frequently. In Sakiras, there are also devotees with Madhurya connection. Uddhava, for example, is 3 rasas. He is Sakiras, he has some Vatsalya for Kṛṣṇa, and he also has a slight attraction in Madhurya. He is considered to be of 3 rasas. Baladev is only of 2 rasas. Baladev is a Sakiras, and because he's Kṛṣṇa's older brothers always have a little Vatsalya for the younger brothers and sisters because they look over them, they look after them. So that looking over, looking after, that is Vatsalya. So rasa is also not just one. It is also mixing, not in abhas, but in harmony. You see, just the right balance. Too much chili spoils. Just a drop of chili gives some taste. A drop of camphor in the sweet rice just enhances. Too much camphor spoils. So then, what is it? So there are cowherd boys. In the course of the cowherd boys' pastimes, they become messengers. And they deliver messages to Radharani and her messengers. They are messengers of Madhurya Rasa. So although they're Krishna's boyfriends, his Sakya-rasa friends, they have a touch with the Madhurya. And sometimes while delivering a message, or sometimes in some other place, the gopis come and arrest them, and capture them, and kidnap them, and take them away, and vanish them. And they become gopis. It happens there. But generally it doesn't, these types of things are not seen down here. But in the story of Dukhi Kṛṣṇa Das, we are just shown, there in the eternal Leelas, sometimes a member of one ras will be captured and taken into the higher ras. And that is their prerogative. It is always their prerogative. No amount of endeavor from our side can take us there. It is always their prerogative. Only we can be taken up there when we are fit. Still, this type of talk is not intimate talk about Kṛṣṇa. This is general talk about Krishna's pastimes. This level of talking about Krishna's pastimes, this we may discuss. But even then, not every day, every day, every day. Because we will not have appreciation for that. We must gain the qualification. Intimate pastimes of Krishna are not to be discussed at all by anyone still living in this mortal world. Even you may find somewhere where it is written, it is never to be discussed. And who knows it all? Nobody. Somebody may know more pastimes than you. This is not a quiz show. Let's see, how many stories of Krishna do you know? This is not a quiz show. And after we've known them all, is that all? No. That's just an inkling, just a drop. His pastimes are infinite, they're eternal, they're unlimited. So it is not about knowing, it is about feeling. Not about knowing a lot, but about feeling very deeply for a little. So that story of Dukhi Kṛṣṇa Das and Shyamananda. Hare Krishna. Go Premanandi, Hare Hare.